Hey, my name is Jeff Russo.
Hi, I'm Rachel Keller.
This is Matt Quayle.
I'm Jeremy Harris.
And you're watching Movers and Shakers.
You're watching Movers and Shakers.
Movers and Shakers.
Movers and Shakers
Unlimited.
What's up, guys? I'm here at 2017 San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm here with special guest Jeff Russo. What's going on?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. All right, so tell me, talk to me about the panel, and tell me, how the experience has been, here at the event.
Well, we haven't done the panel yet.
Okay.
We will do it in about an hour, I think, which is
Okay.
weird because this is sort of a backwards
I
thing.
know,
Usually we do this
normally you
after.
guys do it, yeah.
I know. I'm not sure why they did it this way. It's fine. But what I will say is I see many familiar faces. This will be my third year doing this panel.
Right.
And it's always great to get together with these really super talented musicians who write this really wonderful music for films and television. And it's really interesting to hear people come and ask questions about what we do, because you don't think of us as people who other people care about in that way. Actors like Rachel and those are the people.
Because I was going to say, it's always interesting because I always say without music, a lot of these projects are so naked. And
You're right about that. Obviously, if you go and you listen to and you watched it without any music, you'd be like,
Right.
what's going
What's
on?
going-
Right. But people don't really put the face or the person with the thing. They just assume oh, that's just what happens.
Right.
But there are people who are interested in what we do, and it's kind of thrilling that people care. I've been making music for a long time with my band and with doing this kind of thing, and it's really interesting to see how much music touches people's soul and heart.
Great. Now switching gears, talking about the projects that you're working on, whether it's Legion or Fargo, those are two diverse projects, but also it comes with their own fandoms and expectations.
Sure.
So can you talk a bit about that and working on those projects and
Sure.
and yeah.
The good news for me on Legion was I don't know that anybody knew what to expect. So there was no bar, right? There was just nobody knew. Noah Hawley's doing Legion, what is going to happen? He did Fargo, and nobody knew. So we basically had a sandbox. And that's basically what Noah said to me, this is what I want to feel. These are the touchstones for me. How do you want to do that? How do you want to enact that? And I basically got to have the most fun of my entire career, which is I basically got to make a record of Pink Floyd meets Penderecki meets big film score.
Right.
Which is weird. It's just a weird combination of different material and weird combination of sounds. So it was a lot of fun. So there really wasn't an expectation. So I wasn't really worried about that. With Fargo, on the other hand, it was a big expectation, and the expectation was we were going to fail, right? Because how can you follow up one of the best movies of the 20th century, right? So I was walking in the shadow of Carter Burwell, who is one of my heroes in terms of him as a composer. So I tried not to look sideways. I just tried to write melodies and just do what I do and try to continue the vibe of that movie that he began and created. And I think that worked out. I think that we were able to do that in the first season. And then with every following season, I think we made an even bigger shift away from the movie and into our own identity. And I think the fact that they allowed us to do that while still telling these Fargo stories was really, they had a long view. I'm talking about the network and the producing studios. They had a long view of what we could do with the that sort of storytelling format.
Gotcha. And as I said, was commenting before on how diverse they are. With each of them, they come with, in terms of the genre that you're dealing with, one being kind of on the superhero spectrum and the other one being, a little more grounded. So can you talk a bit about like the process that you have in dealing with those with those elements?
Well, I tend to want to write music that is grounded in some emotional content, right? Because I feel like if you're too above it, looking down, it doesn't feel authentic. It feels fake to me.
Right.
So I always find that if I approach it from that perspective, I'm going to at least get 80% of the way there. I'm at least going to get close, because maybe I'm not hitting the right emotional beat, in which case somebody will adjust me. But that's the thing that I think ties the two things together. And I think pretty much all the projects that I work on, I think I try to have a through line in terms of what I bring to the table, which is not necessarily melody, not necessarily a sound, but an idea, which is how do I connect music to the emotional content of whatever story we're telling? Because music is always the heart of any narrative. Without music, you don't have the sad, you don't have the, there are things that you do have without the music, but then music does something else.
Right.
And then without it, you won't have that.
Yeah.
So I always try to tie it all together. Now, in that way, the two projects are very similar. In terms of the approach, they were totally different. On the one hand, I'm trying to tell a story about a main character who has no idea what's real and what's not real, and is he in reality or is he not in reality?
Right.
So I kind of had to follow that line and write music that could jump between reality and non-reality seamlessly, so that I wasn't telling the audience, it's not real. Now we're in some hallucination.
Right.
We never wanted to do that. We wanted to be totally grounded, even though you'd think like that's not a grounded story.
Right.
But if we are grounded, we're inviting the audience to basically experience the same thing that our character is experiencing. That was the idea behind the score.
Gotcha. Now, lastly, for someone who is trying to pursue a career as a composer, I know there's, everyone has their own path, but, what would be your advice for someone like in this day and age that we're in with, the resources that are available?
I get that question a lot. There isn't an answer to that. The answer is, well, some people might say like, well, if you really, well, no, I mean, yes, some people might say that. I would say I never went to music school, so I know nothing about that.
Okay.
But some people might say like, if you want it bad enough, you'll work hard enough, you'll keep doing it, and it'll eventually come. And then, of course, sometimes that doesn't happen.
Right.
So I think that as long as you're true to yourself and you write music that means something to you, even though sometimes you have to write music that doesn't mean something to you, and that's part of the job. Like, it's not all fun and games. It's not all like, oh, everything I do I love and I won't do anything else, because it's a job, right? I think that if you give yourself the opportunity, things eventually happen. A lot of it is the right place at the right time with the right music and the right personality and the right pitch and the right show and the right weather outside and the right attitude of the cab driver on the way. Like, there's so many things. It's always a confluence of events. Like, I would never have known that I would have met Noah Hawley on a show that he hired me on in 2009 that got canceled after 10 episodes if my friend hadn't introduced me to his brother, who, you know what I mean? Like, the weirdest things happen. And then 4 years later, he made Fargo, and now I'm standing here at Comic-Con for a third year in a row. You know what I mean? Like, so things happen, and there is no rhyme or reason. So it's hard to give advice when it comes to that, except for know your craft. Absolutely. If you are faced with the opportunity to do something and you're not at 100% with the ability to do that, you're screwed, right? So know your craft. That may be either school or internship, or find someone who'll let you shadow them for a while, or read a book. I don't know, like, there's a million things. Learn your workstation, learn how to use it, learn everything about the technical aspect, and then also just write music all the time. Just keep the muscle going, because having an opportunity that you're not ready for, it could be the biggest missed opportunity of your lifetime. Sure. So the idea is always be ready for the opportunity because you never know when it's going to hit.
All right, well, Jeff, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. There you guys have it, 2017 San Diego Comic-Con. I'll see you soon.